And a good Friday afternoon, everyone. Roger Hill, VELCO Weather Hazards forecaster for the VELCO Weather Hazard Outlook. Looking at, of course, the big picture here, and the main thing that stands out, still some decent snowfall occurring and associated with this upper-level low-pressure system. This is going to be pushing in this frontal boundary that's tapping into the Gulf of Mexico. And eventually this is going to swing closer to us. But we're going to eke out a very, very nice afternoon on the way there. And see a pretty decent Saturday. There could be a couple sprinkles that kind of roll up and get very close to western parts of Vermont. That'll happen overnight. And then that basically moves into parts of Canada. The main event, though, is going to await basically until we get into Saturday night, and especially Sunday and through Sunday night into early Monday morning. Also, what we're looking at with this ridge of higher pressure kind of squeezed together with this impulse that's working in this large upper level low pressure center. That's going to squeeze the pressure gradient a little bit, and we're going to see an influx of southeasterly winds blowing in and acting along generally the central and northern Green Mountains, not so much the southern Greens, but we could see wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour on the summits of the Green Mountains, and then along that narrow geography of the western slopes where some downsloping will take place. That would include probably parts of the eastern Champlain Valley, but I am seeing the potential there for some impacts, but again, it looks like it's fairly narrow geography. Most of the region not going to see those wind gusts, so it's kind of some impacts are possible. Stay tuned for further heads up a little bit later on today, Friday. Now we're looking at this weather system pushing on in. Let's check the latest computer modeling. On the right side, we have the GFS ensemble. On the left-hand side, we have the European deterministic. You can see the frontal boundary here, and again, where that snow is occurring. This is a little bit late for this time of year. Not rare, but a little bit on the late side to see that much snow occurring in the Rockies and then back on that northwestern flank and the colder air wrapping around this upper level system. Running the model, well, we see this boundary get a little closer to us, again, almost into the Champlain Valley, and then it kind of backs away, kind of rotates north into Canada. The flow is now basically like this, kind of counterclockwise out of the south. And then this is going to be the main band here. But note the pressure gradient is going to be starting to tighten up just enough that we're going to see that southeasterly flow interacting with the mountaintops of the Greens and seeing those gradient winds develop. So that's going to be basically a factor Saturday night, and then into a little bit into the morning hours on Sunday. We have this rather beefy moisture feed coming in, tapped out of the Gulf of Mexico and now the southeastern states and the adjacent southern Atlantic states. So this is being pushed up and pulled up the coast and then wrapped in around this area of low pressure. As it does so, it slows down and it awaits a wave of low pressure. That wave of low pressure is going to slow things down and enhance that rainfall. So hence we might get somewhere between 3/4 and maybe a little bit over an inch out of it, potentially maybe even a little bit more than that. Now once that band moves on through, we're going to get into some colder air, and that's going to start to take place once we get into Sunday night and Monday. There's a chance that we could see a few wet snowflakes. The best chances for that, however, looks to be Monday night into the day, into Tuesday morning, and again, just interacting with some of the highest elevations. I'm not expecting any issues for travel, whatnot, but we're looking at generally scattered rain showers or rain shower activity lingering, in fact, just about into all of the week. This goes through basically Wednesday. You can see still kind of a secondary disturbance, kind of a jet stream push here, and this is just going to make things unsettled pretty much all week long. The GFS ensemble at this point in time is kind of falling apart just a little bit more, but it's relatively close to what the European is showing. Looking at the grid at Montpelier, roughly the closest thing to the center of the state, we're seeing the GFS ensemble, and we can see just a little bit of an uptick. That's at indications of a little bit of precipitation nearing our region, but I don't believe it gets here until we see the main band here, and that's really going to happen on Saturday night into the day Sunday, Sunday night into Monday. That's the bulk of the heaviest amounts, and then things kind of ramp down, as you can see, but remaining still relatively unsettled. What about QPF? You can see that we might exceed 1 inch here. In fact, over time, it's going to add up, add up, add up. The latest deterministic model, the blue line here of the GFS, even indicates that that model run was even a little bit higher, potentially 1.5 inches. The European is coming in with about 1 to 1.5 inches as well. This is precipitable water. Again, you can see kind of a jump up and then a bit of a dip and then back up, and then gradually things dry out as we get colder, colder, colder as we get later in the next week, this coming next week. So looking at the 850 temperatures, it does explain a lot. You can see this is the 0 degrees centigrade. This is roughly about 4,300 feet elevation, about the top of Mount Mansfield, about the same height there. So at that point, any temperatures that are cold enough below 0 degrees centigrade, typically you find a little bit of snow. At the start of this, of course, it's going to be all rain. And to kind of look at the precipitation types with the model ensemble here, you can see green is generally rain, but indications, just a little bit of wet snowflakes. Unfortunately, we can't get rid of that. At least we're not seeing what portions of the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes are seeing, which is some pretty healthy rainfall. Looking at, let's put capes. We're also starting to see a little bit of convective available potential energy here. We're talking about minuscule amounts, but it would indicate that there's going to be a little bit of surface heating when the sun does come out, and that's going to be fairly limited, unfortunately, for most of next week. Now, you put that over shear, and I don't think we have any worries whatsoever there, and we're not looking at any thunderstorms, for example. So we mentioned decent precipitation, and the QPF, quantitative precipitation forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, looks like this, and we can see indeed over 2-inch amounts in some parts of southern New England and into parts of New Hampshire, and some decent rainfall. We could use it, and I think it's just what the doctor ordered after that big long dry period that we had recently. Switching to temperatures, we're looking at again warmer than normal weather working on in, but what you can see is a little bit of warming, and of course this colder than normal weather that we've just gotten rid of here is now pushing into the Canadian Maritimes. There's more that will come in. This is associated with that big upper level trough or an upper low. We're going to see some of that business work in east into our territory eventually. That's best illustrated by the meteorological output statistics of Moss here for the next 5 days of high temperatures weighted. And you can see we're just about neutral, even above normal toward the Canadian Maritimes, but we're around -6 for our weighted temperatures over the next 1 to 5 days of the latest model output statistics. 3 days later, just to extend that, you can see near neutral, still above normal in the Canadian Maritimes, and you can see we're running about 3 to 6 degrees below normal. We have a fine day in progress on this Friday. Daytime highs today expected to approach 70 degrees, and we're starting to see some of that action already down around Bennington. That's it from here, Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.